Species.
Hello and welcome to Origin of Species. My name is Scott. I'm here with my good friend Steve, and we are in the holiday spirit. We've had a little break. We hope everyone has enjoyed their holidays, and we have a little bit of a different episode today. First, if you're watching on video, I would like to point out my beautiful I Heart the Cut of Your Jib shirt, which is available at our store, species.com/store.
It is a very attractive shirt.
Thank you.
You know, I think you're going to have more friends that are sailors because of that shirt. I hope you do at least.
Yes, probably so. I have yet to. I think you mentioned something about the docks to me privately earlier. I didn't get the joke, but I am going to wear it down to the docks and see what happens. So, Steve, did you have a good holiday?
I did. I had a great holiday. It was my first full Christmas as a Belgian Mongolian. So I just really saw things from a different perspective this year.
Awesome. I did as well. So again, we want to just thank everyone who's listening and give you a little peek into our some of the other things that we offer at Species. Some of the other things we offer at patreon.com/Species when you become a Species Supporter.
Mm-hmm. So today we're going to feature some clips from our special podcast we do, Species Uncut. And as you know, Origin of Species focuses on the origin and history of words and phrases and other things. This podcast is basically all about the other things. So we get away from words and phrases and talk about some other things that are on our mind. And it's one of the feature podcasts you get if you become a Species Supporter at patreon.com/Species. So for this first clip, I wanted to share my time in Florida this summer on family vacation. I give a little bit more detail into my life you probably normally get on typical Origin of Species episode, but that's one of the benefits of Species Uncut. So I discuss my vacation to Florida, which logically includes interactions with tigers, bears, manatees, and of course, a dead body. Never been on the Gulf before, so saw a lot of animals. New animals I experienced between the Gulf and also I haven't gone back to work yet, so I don't know I'll share the story with our Species supporters here. So we did go to one. All right, so I'll pause this first. We went to a great aquarium, the Moat Aquarium down there. And it was tremendous. I got to pet a shark.
Wow.
Pet a stingray. I just didn't get around to the stingray in time. Wow. Did a virtual swim with sharks on a virtual whatever that's called, like a Google Glass thing. Immersive experience. It was cool. Got to see a lot of animals and marine life that was related to the Gulf of Mexico. Sarasota's on about an hour and a half south of Tampa on the Gulf side of things.
Gotcha.
Also went to a exotic ant. I shouldn't have said the word exotic, but Freudian slip there. I went to a place that was a private zoo. That offered the thing that hooked me as I was researching it. They offered yoga with tigers, and interesting for a couple reasons. So other yogas they offered lemur yoga, fox yoga, and then yoga with tigers. But they phrased it different. They phrased it specifically like I said. Okay. So it was lemur yoga, fox yoga, but then when it was tigers, it was yoga with tigers, which I was game for, but they weren't offering it when we got there, and I was glad. So this was a place that had it again, Tiger King kind of in the back of my head. Seemed very clean. The people that worked there did not look like they had just gotten out of jail or were in between hits of meth. Nice, clean place, but had lions, tigers, bears. Got to say it. I had a chance to feed a bear, which I think I either sent. Did I send you the picture yet?
Yes.
Okay, I sent you that. Also had an emu, but then they had. All right, so you've heard of a liger. It's a lion bred with a tiger, a male lion bred with a female tiger. So they had a tigon, which is a male tiger bred with a female lion. And to be honest, we went through this whole thing. We fed a bear. We were out and about. We spent a decent amount of money, but we were out in about 25 minutes. And we all got back in the car, and we all just felt really kind of dirty.
Well, listen,
my wife's like, let's not tell anybody. I'm like, other than a recorded video that we'll have on the internet for everyone to see.
If that's the worst thing that comes out about you, like, that you'll be fine. I mean, really, but I will like you. 2 years ago, I went to the place Doc Antle, the guy
Oh
from
yeah,
Tiger King, place in South Carolina, Myrtle Beach. Like it was all. I mean, it was clean. It was nice.
yeah,
I mean, the whole thing was very above board. And then Tiger King blew up, and I think you might have been the first. Somebody that had watched it was like, "Oh my gosh, that's the place you went to. Got raided by the feds."
yeah,
Oh, the person I went there with. I also found out, like, I don't tell people that I saw a liger because they had a liger. They didn't have the other one you said. What's the
Tygon.
Tygon? Because I got a stink eye for. Well, people were already like, "What do you mean you went and saw tigers?" And I'm like,
Yeah,
"What? It's cool. I want to feed a tiger."
yeah,
And then later you find out apparently it's like all these places are somehow bad. But
yeah.
I mentioned the liger, and I got a lot of, "Oh no, no, no! Like that's bad. You shouldn't breed. Nobody should be breeding ligers." It's like, and I'm like, "It's cool, man."
Right,
Like,
and you didn't breed it. That wasn't part of the process.
but
You
you
weren't,
may
like,
as well have.
inseminating. Well,
Yeah. So
good
anyway,
thinking.
just listen. I'm just telling you, I've been there. But I
Yeah,
tell everybody, it was still cool. I don't
yeah,
care. And I like animals, but I didn't know. And I fed them. It's not like,
yeah,
it's not like you were beating them with a stick. It's not like you were swinging a oar at geese. I
yeah.
mean, you've
I've had
had worse animal stories than.
yeah, I've had or maybe better encounters with animals. It depends on how you look at it.
Right.
So, saw some interesting animals, and I came very close to seeing a dead body.
Now, I haven't heard this.
That's right. So
What
I did
happened with
save it
this?
for this. So this is gonna make my trip sound salacious, but it really wasn't. So we stayed at a place called Lido Key, which is a key off of Sarasota, and we were pretty close to the beach, walking distance to the beach.
Mhm.
So we were there one night, and you're on the west coast of Florida, so you try to watch the sun go down every night. And we were coming back, and I was like, I was telling my wife, I was like, maybe we should go back. Just let the kid go inside and watch some TV. Maybe we'll go back and check things out. And she's
Mhm.
like, nah, let's not do it. And that was fine. So the next day we go to the beach, and I notice like a local news van is there. Now nothing happens. I see no reporters, but it just makes me think, why
Mm.
is there like a local news van
Right,
there?
right.
So I went and found the local station, and apparently that night, about honestly 5 to 10 minutes after we left the beach, a body washed up on the shore.
You are
I'm
kidding.
not kidding you. And it was also
What?
somebody who had been seen earlier that night at that area.
Whoa, whoa. So somebody got murdered
Mm,
or drowned.
mm, yeah. So from what I've found, and I haven't found, the weird thing was, after there was one update to the story, like 4 hours after it posted, no other ones, that the person that passed away had been seen, and about an hour later, her body was then seen. And they said no foul play was imagined, and they had a
Oh,
picture of her T-shirt. So it sounds like somebody, my wife and I had a weird like one of those discussions that becomes ironic or interesting later, of like, why it's bad to swim after dark, especially, if you've been drinking and doing all that stuff. One of the reasons why we didn't
wow.
want to go back, just in case people were getting out of hand.
Right.
But came very close. If we had hung out a few more minutes, we would have maybe had I mean, some interesting pictures would have come out of it. But
Well,
um,
I'm glad you didn't have to
yeah,
actually see that. Ugh,
but
that's too bad.
to end on a positive note, you did give me a good idea of, there's the wild places you can go to
Mhm.
feed tigers and lions and
I already know
whatever
where
else
you're
that they'll
going.
breed. Maybe to go somewhere to take a swing at them. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe for somebody that need, like for me, if I could take a swing at a bear, and I don't think it'd be so bad if we did it in a way that, like, it's not like totally, like, you're gonna get a swing at the bear, but then you're gonna have to outrun it. You got 3 minutes to make it through the cage or something. You know what I mean? Something like that to
Yeah,
make
there
it
has to
fair,
be okay, all right, I've got thoughts on this. First of
please.
all, I mean, man, we can't hurt a bear. Like, you give me a oar and let me swing it at a bear,
Mhm.
he's fine. Like, he'll probably catch it in his teeth, right? I mean, I don't think I could hurt a bear without a gun. But I like your idea because it's like, okay, on one hand, you've got hunters that actually like hunt bears.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if we've talked about this on the podcast. Do you remember like 15 years ago or something when we were having breakfast at Dirty Aunt Sarah's Pancake House and the waiter told us that he used to hunt bears running down the mountain. Does this ring a bell at all?
I remember a very eccentric waiter there,
That would be him.
but I don't remember that story in particular.
He had
Share.
a term. No, that's the story. He has some term for it. He's like, because he was dragging, and he said, yeah, last weekend I went. He didn't call it bear hunting. There was some term for it. We're like, what are you talking about? He's like, dude, he goes, basically, you camp out on the side of this mountain and you just chase bears with guns and stuff. He's probably making it up. But anyway, so there's people that hunt that actually get out there and do it. Then there's people like me and you who like get a pole and put some food, in a hole. There's no danger really there, right?
Yeah.
There does need to be a happy medium where.
Yeah, and that guy's Elmer Fudd style. I think that's how he learned how to hunt, was by watching Elmer Fudd chase Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny. That doesn't sound real.
I mean, I remember it so clearly just because it was so bizarre, but I really wish I could remember the term, because I remember our friend Jeff, who was really engaging with this guy, like asking questions, and the guy seemed to have answers. But anyway, I don't want to be maimed or crippled. So maybe what it is like you can take a swing at an animal you don't like. This is terrible. But like instead of that animal being able to attack you, like you get like maybe you have like, clamps on your nipples or something and like tied to an electric, like to a car battery. And you have to somehow get zapped or something if you don't. There's something there is what I'm saying.
That could be a place on our new Fantasy Island Love Boat that we discussed with Giannis Pappas. That sounds like that could be one of the rooms that you could go there.
Yes, Species Safari. Let me tell you, we do the whole Fantasy Island thing. I would also like to circle back to who in the hell would want to do, and please forgive me if you said you wanted to, but do yoga with foxes. Like foxes, get scratched up or bit. They're definitely, anytime I hear about yoga with any animals, there is one thing and one thing alone that I think about, and that is it's gonna poop or pee on me. That's it. I don't care how cute. I don't care if it's yoga with dogs. I don't care. I'm gonna probably get peed on like friggin' Diogenes or something.
Yeah.
So
they call it Diogenes yoga. That could be one way to
a bum comes out and just takes a leak on you. I mean, I'm sure there's an audience for that. It's all dudes, by the way. But what was can you talk about that more? Did you just see the sign? Like, what exactly is it? Just like cages with foxes around you? You're not letting foxes on you, are you?
I didn't see, like, you had to schedule it, and I saw somewhere the foxes were. I think that they were young. They were baby foxes, but that didn't appeal to me. But they also were one of the animals that you could hold. So again, kind of going back to the seedy aspect of things, I have a feeling if you're holding something, that it's probably had a Benadryl or a couple plugs or something like that.
I have a picture that I've never shared. I'm sure I didn't send it to you. I pretend like it doesn't exist. It's me holding like a baby tiger.
Yeah.
It's so sad because all this tiger is definitely got some, like you said, it's had a few tiger Benadryls, and it's just being passed. It's almost like the meet and greet after like a show. It's like, quick, take a picture, shake a hand, move on. It's like, hold the tiger. Okay, picture, move on. I'm like, that wasn't an amazing experience. And that tiger doesn't look happy.
Yeah. And you don't want a tiger to look too happy either.
True.
I think because that's probably not a good thing on the other extreme things. But I feel like I got to leave. I've focused on a lot of negative stuff, but I have to leave with end my Florida journey here with a very good animal experience that we had.
Okay.
And so the last day, we're on the beach. No, it's our last day. I'm getting a little sentimental because I realize, this is our last day and who knows when we're going to get back. And my family, we're all in the water together. And my daughter goes, Daddy, what's that over there? And I look over and I see maybe like a 4-foot long dark blur. And this is very clear water. So it is something. And I immediately think it's a shark. And I'm pretty sure it's a shark. And I start going into fight or flight and was kind of like moving my kid away. And the good thing was I didn't run away and I was going to lose my hand to a shark. But as the tide comes out, we see a little face pop out with nose and whiskers.
Oh.
And it's a manatee.
A manatee.
About 4 feet away from us was a manatee. Now, we still vacated the area because manatees are herbivores, but they are big. And we also learned a fun fact we learned at the aquarium is that a manatee is not fat. They look fat, but they're mostly intestine. They have, if
Really?
you undid their intestines, equals 6 school buses.
Wow.
So that's a fun fact.
That
And
is a
maybe
fun
that's
fact.
something, where would they learn that? They probably took it to the place where the Yogo Tigers is done and gutted a manatee there.
You're right. I'm
And
going to use that though.
figure out-
Next time somebody
Yeah.
tries to insult me by saying I look like a manatee, I'm going to say, hey, it's just I have a lot of intestines.
I got a lot of
You know
intestines.
how many buses my intestines could wrap around?
I like that.
That is a really cool story though. How did the rest of the fam take? Were they freaked out at all, or were they just like, "Oh, this
We
is
were all
cool"?
a little bit freaked out, but it was kind of a good bonding experience. I think
Mhm.
mostly because I didn't run out of the ocean screaming.
You didn't do the Costanza at the birthday party, like push everybody out of the way.
I didn't
That is
launch
good.
my kid at the manatee. So we hope you enjoyed that clip. And in case you're wondering, yes, that is my real kimono. So for this and more, become a Species supporter at patreon.com/Species for podcasts like Species Uncut and other podcasts, including True Facts with Robert Banquette and Personal Records. And Scott, you have another clip from Species Uncut for us.
I do. This next clip is one of my favorite moments in Species Uncut, where we talk about some maybe unlikely folks trying to cut into our space. So I hope you enjoy this next clip from Uncut.
And I tell you, 2 people that have gotten together that have blown my mind to have discussions and make sure they get everything out is Bruce Springsteen and our first Hawaiian president, Barack Obama. So I think you and I have talked before, personally, that one of the best and worst things about podcasts is that everyone can do it.
Right.
It could be 2 schmoes, one that dresses like a lumberjack and one guy that dresses like an 80s undercover cop. They can get together and do a podcast. But we've done that, and we're over 100 episodes. I think we've established ourselves.
Yes.
But when I see President Obama and Bruce Springsteen, and what I like having a podcast together, to get together, President Obama, who I would say actually probably did have, if you read his life story, he did have to overcome some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Bruce Springsteen, who pretends he's a working, that whole spiel drives me nuts. But what I love about their podcast is it's called Renegades.
Yeah.
Where 2 60-plus-year-old multimillionaires, rebels, sit there, probably in a hot tub full of $100 bills together, and chat about, because they're renegades. We're gonna hear the renegades, billionaires.
Have you listened to it at all?
I haven't, because they're squeezing us out of our space. We need to be, that's great that with all their millions of dollars, they have time to do that, to make time between, counting their money or going somewhere and giving a concert or speech and being handed a giant bag of money like they're in a cartoon, like a giant bag with a dollar sign on is how I imagine Bruce Springsteen gets paid at the end.
Yeah. My take on it is, yes. Okay. Like, thanks guys. This is it's like, I remember there was some backlash when I think Conan O'Brien and some other people started doing podcasts. And I was like, yeah, it kind of sucks, but it's also inevitable.
Yeah.
This did not need to happen.
No.
Like, I would actually love to, I've never listened to it. I would love to listen to Conan O'Brien's podcast. I've heard it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Will Ferrell's was terrible.
Will Ferrell's was really bad.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what happened there, because to make Will Ferrell not funny, that's got to be a lot of effort.
Yeah. And they found it. They put a ton of effort in there.
Yeah.
That.
But here's my take on the boss and Obama. Nobody who wants to actually hear that. And I was like, you know what? Let me listen to it. And I was like, no, they're not getting a stream from me.
Right.
That was really why I didn't do it, because I wanted to be able to comment on it. Because, I don't think, like, we musicians like Bruce Springsteen, it's kind of like, Robert De Niro, these actors, they have all this gravitas.
Yeah. But
then when you hear them talk, they don't have anything smart to say. I guarantee you, he does not have anything good to say. And then Obama, I mean, he's the president, so all due respect to him, but he's kind of like, he's got like his shtick in his act. He's kind of like got his thing. Why would I want to tune into that? I would rather hear like George W. Bush and Seal, like something completely off the wall, other than Obama and the boss.
I like that. I think that there could be, that would still be, you know, biracial multi-millionaires, but at least there's some sort of like difference. There's
Yeah.
like an odd couple sensibility to it. Well, I don't get that with the boss and Barack. That's just more of a bunch of rich guys sitting together,
Slapping each other on the back, talking
Yeah.
about how wonderful they are and educating everybody on stuff. You know, that's what I think it probably is. In fairness, I haven't listened. Who would be your, putting you on the spot here, who would be your ex-president musician combo that you would actually not be as upset about?
Well, I like the comic possibilities of George W. Bush. I like the idea. I'm going to go a little, I'm going to think kind of culture figure and ex-president. I would love to see director John Waters and Donald Trump together on a show. I think that would be, and just have them drive around places.
That's so brilliant, because John Waters, I know you're a big John Waters guy. I never really have been. I recently watched Crybaby for the first time though. And I watched it with my daughter because I didn't know. Crybaby was not what I thought it was going to be. I thought Crybaby was more like going to be The Outsiders or something, you know, because I knew it was that time period. I didn't even realize it was directed by John Waters.
Right.
Within 5 minutes of the movie, you're like, I'm looking up. I'm like, this is weird. This is John Waters. Reagan loved it. She brings it up all the time, and it's pushing a little bit for a 10-year-old. But anyway, back to this though. The reason why I think that's brilliant is because I don't think John Waters would be subtly probably lampooning Trump the whole time, and Trump probably wouldn't realize it, and it would make for a really compelling show, I think.
Yeah. But Trump doesn't like to share the spotlight that much. Maybe it'd have to be John Waters and George W. Bush. That would still be good.
George W. Bush is affable, you know, and we've talked before, probably not on the podcast, but just about how, you know, George W. Bush and Mrs. Obama have that little thing going on where they're sharing gum and candy and stuff. And that's fun to see. So I think George W. But the reason I thought Seal was just the first thing that popped into my head, but he's got that accent. So he would sound very highfalutin. Yeah. Plus, not to rip on, I mean, the face thing. I mean, he's had to have been through some stuff. Dude, I don't know if that was a fire or he was born that way. How do I not know why Seal's face looks like that? Shouldn't we know that? You must know that.
I think there's some sort of like tribal tattoo scars that he has. But to be honest with you, I haven't thought about Seal since that Batman song came out a long time ago. And now, you know, but talking about him, I think it would be good to see him with George W. Bush, because at least somebody in that would be able to speak in complete sentences.
Exactly.
And, you know, he will definitely balance out George W. Bush's, whatever you call it, his language.
Well, you would have to, what you'd have to do is you'd have to sit down a 15-year-old who, or maybe let's say a 10-year-old, somebody who doesn't know history very well. Yeah. And you have them listen to like 10 minutes and you go, which one of these people used to be the president? You know, and if they guess George W. Bush, then you know, you keep them back a grade or something.
Or have one of them diagram a sentence. All right, take this sentence and diagram it. I want to see the subject and, you know, the verb noun agreement and line everything up for us. And that's George W. Bush. I will give him credit for one thing, is he helped me stop watching the State of the Union speeches, because I'm like, I can't take this anymore. Somebody needs to teach this man how to speak. He needs to go back to a public speaking class. But
it was bad. And I remember when Obama was elected president, I mean, my overarching feeling was like, oh my gosh, a president that can talk. Yeah. But I didn't think that 13 years later, he'd be, you know, getting into our space talking here. It's like, you don't see Steve and I trying to become president, run against him. I mean, yet. That's true. Not yet. Yeah. But yeah, the thing about Barack Obama though, is it just feels like he's got too much of he's too polished, which is, hey, is worse things. Exactly. So, and George W. Bush, you know how as time passes, you remember people for maybe like one or two things. You remember little moments. Yeah. And that's true for, you know, if you think about your granddad or whatever, right? You have like a few moments that just crystallize who they were. And you hope those are the good moments, right? Yeah. George W. Bush, I remember two moments very specifically, and they
Mm-hmm.
both make me like him. And the first one is when he dodged the shoe that was thrown at him.
I remember that.
That was great. I mean, because he
was.
was on his feet, and it wasn't just the dodge. I
Mm-hmm.
should have brought the video and had it ready, but I didn't know we were going to talk about this. He dodges it, and then he looks at the guy like with that George W. Bush face of like, kind of like a half smile. And you're like, you could see him doing that at a fraternity party, like, oh, it's go time.
Yeah.
But he just kind of looked at him with that little face. The other one is when he was given a speech and he broke into the Who lyrics of "Won't Get Fooled Again." He goes, you know what they say, fool me once, shame on me, fool me, can't get fooled again. It's such a great line, and it's been used. That line has been sampled in rap lyrics as well. It came up. I heard it the other day in a Kanye song. Speaking of presidents,
maybe past and future president can get together in a podcast. We're still holding out hope for 2024. President Kanye. Happen. He's done the best thing he can. Is he got rid of my biggest objection to him was his spouse. So I think he's dealt with that. So I think we're in a better spot.
But, I do too.
So I think it's good to think, though, at least, if the worst thing we have to deal with in the podcast space is Bruce and Barack getting together, I think the worst thing, now that would be better if they just called it Bruce and Barack or Barack and the Boss. Renegades. I think the Renegades Born in the USA is the name of it.
Oh.
Sorry, talking about George W. Bush, I forgot my correct punch. I'm looking at a colon and just called it a hyphen. I think we need to find out if Barack and Bruce are just like super greedy and like still have like I need to listen to their show to see if they do like the typical podcast ads. Like if Bruce Springsteen does a Blue Chew ad.
Hey, if the boss has erectile dysfunction, I don't have to be ashamed about it.
Yeah, that's not happening. He's bought another penis. If he's got enough money that he's bought like a surplus penis.
He would never admit to it. And Barack, I mean, he could do like it. He could do some ads himself. But it wouldn't be for low T.
But Barack's Blue Chew of like, let me be clear. You have problems with erections. Are you blaming George Bush?
Yeah.
Let me be clear. Blue Chew.
Yeah.
Just ask Michelle. I mean, it would be a good way to I think he would make erectile dysfunction go away because everyone would listen to it. If Barack gave one of his good speeches about boner pills, I think the possibilities for that are.
Does your penis, what is it? What was his slogan? Hope and change?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guarantee you two things. And by the way, this is shots fired. By the way, I always say two things, and I'm like thinking them up as I go. So let's see how this goes.
Let's see how many
two things. One, they are selling ads. They are definitely selling ads, and they're not for Blue Chew. It's probably for. It's more classy. It's not even going to be like the normal podcast ads. It won't be Simply Safe.
It'll be like cars.
It'll be like Nabisco.
Yeah,
and it'll be like Pop-Tarts. I guarantee. And number two, the show sucks. I guarantee, like, I want to find a way to listen to it without them getting a stream because that stream is going to make the difference. What if I love it though? I might just have to listen to one and then what if I came back and had to eat crow and just say,
I think it'd be worthwhile.
I was wrong. You know what? Yeah. Barack Obama, he doesn't even wear a tie. He loosens it. So he rolls up his sleeves and sometimes they'll have a beer. They'll have a beer together. I mean, they'll split one beer. But still, you're having a beer with the president. Yeah. And he really had some things to say that I didn't think he was going to say. And the boss, dude, that guy's insightful. He is. I would have never thought it. He's got a way of looking at things that really make you think. That's not going to happen. But
I like the possibility of it. I think it's a good idea. And I think if anything, now that we've done this, maybe we need to re-edit it though. What's one of the best things we can do on a show is to go denigrate, two of the most powerful men in the country who are worth millions and millions of dollars. And I mean, they could have a whole episode of like Bruce Springsteen just beating me with a pillowcase full of doorknobs. Like, who's blue collar now? Will be down by the river and just like want me over and over with that.
Which reminds me, they need to do. I don't think that. Is Robert Smigel still with SNL? Because one of my favorite things was the ex-president's cartoon he would do. amazing. And I don't know that there's one with Barack Obama. I could just see one where it's like, he's rolling up his sleeves and he's like, yes, we can, knock you out. And that's what Barack would do to me. Barack Obama would kick my ass.
Yeah. I don't think
the boss would kick both of our asses.
Yeah. I don't think he's allowed. You're not allowed to draw him. He's like Muhammad. Like you can't render him in cartoon form. It's sacrilegious. So I think they had to end that cartoon.
Yeah, that's true. They fired Smigel. He tried to do it once and they fired him. No, I mean, if we ended up in a beef with any podcast, I'd be totally okay with that. I'd be fine with it.
That won't happen. It'll be somebody even more low rent than us, which I don't even want to like ponder. Do you have someone? You in a feud with?
Dude, I've always sort of thought of, I blocked his name out of my head. John Cougar Mellencamp is like the discount Bruce. And I don't even like Bruce. Imagine if he got a podcast with like, not a ex-president, but like, who's somebody that used to be in like the Senate or something, like Dick Durbin. What if the two of them? That would be
Dick and the Cougar. That I would hate listening to that because how much John Cougar Mellencamp is the Kale of musicians. He sucks. He sucks so bad, and I
sucking on him. Chili Dog. That'd be the name of the podcast.
Oh my gosh!
I hesitated to bring him up, but I say, what?
It's okay. It's late enough in it.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go on for a whole hour about how much I hate John Cougar Mellencamp, and oh gosh, but Dick who could? I would hate. Yeah, Dick and the Cougar. Who else could he be with? Who's it? He should team up with the Blem lady. Oakland Patrice and the Cougar. Now that could be a good sports show too. Live from Las Vegas. It's Oakland Patrice and the Cougar.
And you just hear the opening strums of and
workers control the means of production.
That is one thing. So you and something that we don't address directly very often on the show, but this is uncut, is that you have a few specific things that you really do hate. And obviously Kale's one of them because it's your catchphrase. And if you follow social media, you'll know this. Most of the things you hate, I'm like fine with. I don't like really, but I also have always hated John Cougar Mellencamp as well. Yeah. So it's one thing that I feel like that we can, like, I think we independently came to hate, just like we both independently came to enjoy the band. We found that out. It's like, that you didn't influence me on that.
It wasn't a weird peer pressure. It's good when you find that because it's like when you're dating.
Yeah.
And you find something that you had in common, but it wasn't like on your profile.
Right.
You don't know what that's like more than me because my wife gets really weird when I get back on dating profiles since we've been married for a very long time.
Yeah.
But it's good to know that you can find those kind of common things.
All right. Well, there it is. I hope we didn't sound too bitter, but we were a little bitter.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, we aren't going after their jobs. They can stay out of our realm. Again, just as a reminder, there is much more where this came from. We have more podcasts. We have other features, a lot of good stuff at patreon.com/Species, where you can become a Species supporter, like many other have done. Become part of the family. We really appreciate it. Steve, you want to tell us about the next clip?
Sure. So as podcasters, it's pretty obvious that Scott and I are portly and like food. So in this clip from Species Uncut, we discuss some experiences we've had with Chick-fil-A, Chuck E. Cheese, and a new restaurant called Hootie's Burger Bar.
Speaking of points, there is a new level of Chick-fil-A membership.
I didn't even know there was membership at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm currently a red member, which used to be the highest, which I mean, frankly, makes me Southern aristocracy. I think like I actually have a rank in the Confederate Army now. I think that like they backdate, like you can like purchase a star. Right. Yeah. I think I'm actually a colonel.
Yeah.
And like Stella had to go to Cotillion this year or we'd lose our red membership. So it was important, but they have a whole other level that my daughter and I had to sit around and do math and think, how many times do we have to go to Chick-fil-A this year? And can we do it? Like, are we going to be doing like extra things? Because there's something about those apps with, I don't know what it does. It sets off in my head. I'm like, I need to keep eating at this place so I can have this membership that no one except the Confederate Army and the local Cotillion group will know.
Right. Yeah, well, now I'm sitting here thinking we eat at Chick-fil-A a lot. Like if we're gonna go out to eat and pick something up, it's usually Chick-fil-A. But I didn't know there was some membership program, so I feel like I've just been throwing away money.
You have been. We actually, Stella and I, for a while, didn't do it because we used to order off menu. We had a special thing we got that wasn't on the app till my wife like slapped me in the mouth and said, "You're throwing away money," and she was right.
Yeah.
She was correct. She pointed out, I mean, in our place in society, our lives would be totally different if I didn't have that app.
Right.
Is your son been a cotillion?
Well, he didn't go this year because of the pandemic and
that's what they told you. It's probably because you're not red level status, but there's some other status now that's some sort of, I don't think it's a color. I think they made up a word. I think they realized too many people were going and they needed fat people like me to keep focused and keep going. Well,
we're going to have a theme. Can I actually tell you a story that has to do with food and out to eat? Or
yes, please.
Okay. So let me start with this. Have you ever heard of Hootie's Burger Bar?
Hootie's, like in the Blowfish?
Yeah.
Never heard of it. Is it real?
It's real. In fact, I want you to take a look at this. Okay. So this is Grubhub Hootie's Burger Bar. So the other day I was wanting a burger, and I love meat. I love
you're pro meat like me.
We've talked about this a lot. I love to grill burgers. I make them on the stovetop with my cast iron. But sometimes you do just kind of you don't have time to do all that. You just want a burger, and those burgers are pretty good. So I go on to one of the Grub. I think I've deleted, because I'm so fat. I've deleted stuff off my phone, but somehow it makes its way back.
Yeah.
So I think I had Grubhub on. I see Hootie's Burger Bar. Those burgers look delicious. And I order a big old burger, and it shows up, and it's in a Hooters bag. And then I come to realize, I see what they did there. Hooters is struggling in the pandemic because of the dining laws and stuff, and everything's takeout. So they rebranded themselves, and I'm so glad you didn't know what that was, because I didn't either. And the burger was okay; it was fine.
Yeah,
but it was also like I had, my neighbors had to see me. So this is actually prompting the question I have. I was thinking about this, about food at Hooters. Yeah, and I was like, would you order carry out at Hooters? Is that like, reading the articles in Playboy, like you know what I mean? Do people want the food? Actually, and by the way, who else did this was one of your favorite places, Chuck E. Cheese. They changed their name into it was I'll look it up in a minute, but it was like, some generic Italian name. I think it was Giuseppe. It was like Giuseppe's House of Pizza, but it was nasty. What's it? Chuck E. Cheese pizza. So it got me thinking about it, and I was like, the Chuck E. Cheese. Of course, nobody's going to order a Chuck E. Cheese pizza, but I don't know. Is the food at Hooters good enough that you would just order it? Because I've obviously been to Hooters. It's been a while, but I'm not going there because I'm craving their wings. I'm going there because it's like, boys' night or whatever. And you get to see some. Well, that sounded like it was with my son. I don't. Not that I'm judging, but I don't.
Yeah, no judgment. Not yet. Well, not right now. There's not.
Not in a pandemic, of course.
Yeah. Now, do they have? So, is it a Grubhub driver that brings it, or is it like a Hooters waitress that brings it in the Grubhub car? That could be a way around it.
That's why you got that big brain energy going, because that would be smart. But I don't know. It was just left on it was contactless, unfortunately. It was just left on the thing. But Hootie's Burger Bar.
It's smart. So I think in quality of food, Hooter, and I've been there before too. I won't pretend I haven't been. The food is okay. Whereas at Chuck E. Cheese, the food. Right. I mean, and also you don't get the experience. Hooters, you want the person who hasn't started stripping yet to sit next to you and, do the awkward, so hi, how you doing? And like, oh, she really likes me and all that. And, before she picks up a meth habit. And then I think at Chuck E. Cheese, I mean, half of the fun there is wondering which group of Mexicans is going to break out into a fist fight. I mean, I personally think it's lost the edge if you're just getting it delivered. The food's the last thing there. I want to see
you're there to people watch.
minorities stab each other. And also, it's fun to watch, and my kid did this, is to watch children be terrified by animatronic things. When the Chuck E. Cheese band came out, I think it was the most scared I've seen my daughter probably ever, like her whole life, like close to having a bear. And it's one of those things you can't get too mad at her. I'm like, it's a robot rat. You should be uncomfortable once you see this.
Right. Yeah, it is. And I'm thinking back when I was a kid, we did Showbiz Pizza, and it was Billy Bob or whatever. But either way, it's creepy, but it didn't seem that creepy when we were kids. But it's like a lot of things that if you follow what is it, Awkward Family Photos, and it'll be pictures of these creepy bunny rabbits from when we were, the 80s and stuff. It's like that stuff was scary.
Didn't they make a video game out of it?
There's
some sort of like,
is that Five Nights at Freddy's?
Five Nights at Freddy's. It looks like Showbiz, or I thought it did.
Yeah, my kids just recently told me about that. Okay, here it is. You got to be kidding me. Pasquale's Pizza and Wings. That's the Chuck E. Cheese. And the thing about them, it was kind of a scandal.
Go back to that. Is that Fred Durst eating a piece? Like, is that the vibe they're going for?
It wouldn't surprise me. Let's take a look at this guy. Yeah.
And
it actually looks like they're bad pizza too. That's the best part. So,
and that was the best shot they got. That was like the best piece of pizza footage that they had. I can't even remember if I've ever even had pizza there. I haven't been there in a long time.
It's bad. I mean, I don't have to tell you it's bad. But.
Oh yeah. Well, my favorite time at Chuck E. Cheese was many, many years ago when I went. I think you know the story, but this is one of my better stories.
The preemptive laugh.
So I for years ignored going to Chuck E. Cheese because it's disgusting and filthy. And my wife, who's borderline germ phobic, didn't want me to go there. And she's right in this case. I mean, it was like one of those ones like we kind of bonded, like, would talk about it and wash each other's hands.
Right.
But one of my good friends, Dirty Dave, actually, which that's his nickname. We'll just call him Dave. Dirty Dave's more of a college thing. That's another story.
This is uncut.
This is uncut. He's Dirty Dave. So, I want to talk about how clean he is leading up to this.
Your call.
So very clean person. Actually, we talked about him. One of our early episodes.
Right. Oh, vomit comment.
It was the one. What was the one when I talked about?
His penis was
shiny penis. Yeah, he's the one that keeps his penis very clean, Dave. Yeah. We should call him. So anyway, he always swore by it when his kids were smaller. Like, it's a rainy day. He's like, look, you go there early before all the deadbeats are, they're still home drunk and haven't woke up yet. And you go out there, it's empty. You're inside, play some video games, play some skee ball, have fun. And it was, I think, Labor Day weekend, many, many years ago. Kid was pretty small, so maybe 7-8 years ago. And we're there and we're having a good time. I'm like, you know what? This is right. I should have listened to Dirty Dave. Let my wife know I should listen to Dave. He keeps his penis nice and shiny.
Right.
And about that time, I was honestly having like that breakthrough thought. My daughter comes down a slide and goes, "Ooh, Dad, yucky." Oh. And I look over and she is slid through vomit.
Yeah.
Just a big old thing of vomit. So I make my exit gracefully, basically strip her down.
I could have seen it. I wish I could have seen you at that moment. I just wish I could have seen your face.
I actually would have found it probably at the time amusing. I was more worried if we were going to get back in the house. So I stripped the kid down. She's butt naked in the car. We're driving down the street, which is also fun to do on a holiday weekend too. Sure. Call the wife, prepare for what's happened. And my wife has built she's like a Navy SEAL of keeping stuff clean. Like opens the door. I think she has like 2 gloves on. She's like, there's a full bath. And
he's got like the airlock, like on I don't know, Star Wars or whatever.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's like when they came to get ET, like it's covered up.
Exactly.
But my favorite part of this is why I didn't want to besmirch Dave by his college nickname, is my wife goes, "All right, whose vomit was it?" And I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know whose vomit was. And she kept asking me, I'm like, I don't know, maybe she's like, was it Dave's kids? Was it Dave's kids? I was like, would it make you happy if Stella went through Dave's kids vomit? And she
Actually,
said,
I
yeah.
almost just got sick right now. Oh, that's so
But
gross.
I got to tell Dave later, it was like, Dave, out of anyone's vomit, my wife was like really hoping that it was your children's vomit that she slid through.
Right.
And I think we went to Chuck E. Cheese one more time for someone's birthday, and no vomit at that. But that's when Stella got terrified by the robot rat.
So I want everyone to know that I am no longer a Chick-fil-A Red member, but I am now a signature member. So forget the Confederacy. I think I'm part of the Southern Illuminati now. It's official. Also, now that I identify as a Belgian Mongolian, I want to give a shout out to Chuck E. Cheese and their support of Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month on Instagram. Because when I think of places that me and my fellow AAPIs go to eat and spend time, Chuck E. Cheese is way at the top of that list. And speaking of a list, become a Species Supporter, patreon.com/Species. We have a list of budget options for every income that we have, that someone has. If you have money, we want to help you give it to us and give you benefits, including special exclusives like 3 Silly Questions, where we interview our guests and ask them 3 silly questions. It's been one of my favorite new features we've introduced this year, to really watch guests let loose behind the Patreon wall. So
Yeah.
Scott, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't want to give too much away, but I feel like, is it saying too much to say that one of the most popular podcasters, maybe the most, gets physically threatened at least once during 3 Silly Questions? But you'll have to join to find out. So the next clip is all about my awful neighbors. Here we go.
But one of the things that was there that reminded me of something I've been meaning to ask you, they had some horse themed stuff. So did you tell me the other day, I think you started, you stopped. Did your neighbor, did he set up horseshoes by your house?
So I don't know. I don't know. I'm a very oblivious person. So I've lived in this same house for a long time, and I've had a lot of neighbors on either side of me. And unfortunately, they've, for the most part, been renters.
Mhm.
And I say unfortunately because, you don't know, they're not taking care of stuff. They're also, you start to make a friend, and then they move or whatever. Not a friend,
Mhm.
but you start to get to know your neighbors. It's
Yeah.
kind of, so I had seen that somebody had bought the house and remodeled it, and I had told you before, I was like, hey man, I got a hot redhead living next door now.
Mhm.
This is awesome. This attractive young lady, I mean, I
Mhm.
say young, probably my age, but 30s or whatever, had moved in. They remodeled that was the word I couldn't think of earlier, remodeled,
Mhm.
like the Pembroke Mall needs to be, the house. And I was like, I wonder what her story is. And every once in a while, a guy would be over there, and I'm like, maybe it's her boyfriend. Then she disappears a year into it, or 6 months or whatever. I think it's been more like a year.
Mhm.
And I noticed that some guys are moving in, and it's like, looks like a couple dudes, and I'm like, well,
Dudes.
could be worse, but I mean, it could be better. It'd be better if it was just her. But I'm like, I guess she remodeled, now she's going to rent it out.
Mhm.
But I was also like, these, maybe they're cool. Maybe they'll be my friend. Well, then I think it was like the first night I've got the windows open because it's nice outside. I'm sitting, I'm relaxing.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden I just hear clang. And I'm like, what the hell? And it sounds like somebody's rung a bell, and it's like clang, clang, loud. And I look back and I see that they have put up horseshoes rings. And I'm thinking, well, maybe this is just a temporary deal. Oh no, they put in like sand pits and a whole box and everything else. Thankfully, now that it's gotten colder, they don't really play as much. But I was just trying to think, like, how, what's worse than a neighbor that, I mean, I guess it could be worse, but it's not good. I mean, why? And here's my thing: why do you need horseshoes? We have, what is it that the beanbag toss thing? What is it called?
Cornhole.
We have cornhole. I think I think once cornhole was invented,
Mhm.
you don't need horseshoes anymore,
Right.
especially when it makes that kind of noise. So I got to think about how to deal with it. I haven't confronted them yet because it has gone down a little bit, but I'll probably.
We need to get on this, as it probably shouldn't record this, but we need,
We'll talk about it later.
seriously, we need
Yeah.
flaming bags of poop, accusations of racism,
Yeah.
maybe find a militia and tell them the AOC's Veterans for AOC Facebook is run out of there, and then do something. They need to go. We'll look up doxing. No, that's where
It went from me thinking I've maybe got some new potential buddies next door to this is the worst possible outcome. Is that their place? So the other thing is they're not there a lot. The guy's not there a lot. I still don't know what's going on over there. It seems like random dudes just always there. I actually looked it up because I was like, I wonder if she's doing an Airbnb, because it seems like different guys there all the time, but there's one common thing, and that is horseshoes. All right. So there you go. If you can think of something that's worse than having a neighbor who installs a multiple horseshoe pits next door, then please reach out to us at our socials at Species. Steve runs our Twitter and Instagram, and we would love for you to join. You can also check out our website. We've got the store there, species.com/store. And as you may have noticed, we've been mentioning our Patreon. So you become a Species supporter. If you like our show, for just for the less than the cost of a cup of coffee, and definitely less than saving an impoverished child in another nation, you can support us. And as Steve mentioned before, we like food. We need to eat. Our kids need to eat. Yeah. And with that, Steve, I'd like to turn it over to you to introduce, I believe, our last clip of the day.
So for our last clip of the day, I regale Scott with some tales from the television show The Love Boat, which one of my accomplishments in 2021 was I pretty much watched every episode of Love Boat that was ever released. And unfortunately, that's not a joke. So for this next clip, our final clip, The Love Boat. But a good thing that did come out of that I think everyone should do, I made productive use of that time in bed. I caught up on The Love Boat.
Oh, good.
Which is good, which I've been sharing with you. And I think if we do have any sort of side podcast, it should be just about The Love Boat, because it's just a good icebreaker, because you can say things that are total non sequiturs and it's an actual plot of a love boat. Like Betty White and her husband come on the ship to race their horse. And at the same time, Gopher and Isaac have smuggled a horse that they named Captain Stubing onto the ship. But the real dark horse, no pun, I don't think a pun intended, is also the village people who race their horse, including the Indian actually riding the horse during the horse race when it happens, which for me is like one of the, and I watched that actually before I took my vid shot. So that was not a hallucination. Yeah. Otherwise I would have to double check that. But it's true. And I constantly send you pictures and updates. I like to send you just plot synopses of
that's all
the show
I
as
need.
I'm watching. Yeah.
Yeah. I've never seen an episode of the show, but just from the descriptions and
wait. Honestly, you've never seen an episode of The Love Boat.
I never have. When I was growing up, it wasn't in the rotation. I mean, I've seen every episode of the Brady Bunch 6 times. I've never seen an episode. But I listened to you talk about it. And also I listened to Adam Carolla and Dr. Drew. They watch it together, like remotely. They'll be on the phone and watch it live and just be texting each other and then spend the whole next episode talking about it. So I feel like I get the humor from that. And then I get the synopses from you and some pictures. And oh my gosh, I really wish I had the picture of that you sent me the other day of who is it, Bricker in the tight shorts?
Yes, Doc Bricker, who had an outfit on. It was the episode that Julie was going to Australia to get married. During that time too, Colonel Potter from MASH was on the boat and was on the hunt for the missing link. Captured the missing link, who by the way was called by the local peoples the Mangala.
Yeah.
Put him on a cage, brought him on the boat. Turns out the Mangala was actually an actor pretending he was the missing link. Escaped from the cage. Let me keep going.
Please.
And jumped overboard. And this was the thing that got me. And this might be the jump the shark moment for the Love Boat. So first of all, they caged what looked like a human being on the Love Boat. And everyone's aware, including Captain Stubing. It's like, honestly says, how's the Mangala? How's that doing back there? Then he runs and jumps off the boat and dies. And And everyone, Captain Stubing's also aware of that. It's like, oh, sorry, I had that didn't work out well for you. That the human being that you put in a cage on my boat jumped off in the ocean. I mean, that's just sea life, I guess.
Well, that's life on the Monsters of Rock 2022
There could be a Mangala.
That's what I'm saying. The Mangala is probably the name of one of the bands, and also there will be one that gets thrown over. Now, wait a minute. Did somebody throw the Mangala over, or did he escape and jump off?
He escaped and jumped
zoned
off.
Out.
But we found him later when the woman that was kind to him met him afterwards, and he said the same thing back to her. And he was a handsome man. When he was out of his Mangala outfit, he looked pretty good. And another thing, just to say out loud because it's fun, Patrick Duffy played a rancher from New Zealand who was illiterate.
Patrick Duffy might be illiterate, though. I hate to say that. Sorry, Patrick Duffy, but
it's okay. He's doing.
He's
all
not
right.
known for his. He's known more for his sex appeal than his.
Reading.
Yeah,
reading. But logically, Patrick Duffy fell in love with an English teacher played by Michelle Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas, and they ended up together at the Sydney Opera House.
Well,
so Species Uncut. This is, if you're watching this, thank you, because this is what you get. You get raw, uncut, hot Mangala talk.
What I like too is that I've never seen an episode. So people listening to this are listening to you and the person that's never seen an episode recap a show that came out 40 years ago, more than that.
40-ish.
Yeah, about 40-ish years ago.
Yeah.
I was trying to find the picture on my phone and get it pulled up, but whatever. I guess it won't happen this time. Next time of Doc Bricker and his outfit, his power outfit.
It was a power outfit. It was some sort of. I think we should try to describe it. It was an 80s tennis shirt, very tiny 80s silk jogging shorts, that were made to accentuate. Normally, you accentuate how to put this. If this was like kind of a meat and two veg situation, you would be like me and highlight the meat. But in these shorts were designed to highlight the veg aspect, including, it looks like, a way to drape the veg. So you had perfectly
it looked like when you go to the grocery store and you only need 2 plums and you put them in a bag and you hold them up like that. But then imagine you took like a twisty tie in between the plums. So it's like, if I can try to illustrate this, because I don't think we've gotten them totally there yet.
No.
Remember that shot of John Hamm, excuse me.
John Hamm.
And he's walking along the street, and all of a sudden there's a picture taken of him, and you can see the outline of his crank, and it's like, it looks like a baby's arm holding an apple. It's like, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, not only is he handsome, you know, he's hung like a camel. This would be like that, but for balls. Yeah.
I think that you've taken something very complicated and made it simple.
Yeah. So for people that don't understand, what we're saying is,
you
Dr.
could really see his balls.
You could really see his balls.
Really?
It was kind of funny because we were talking about it as we sort of were. I mean, because it's the first thing. What's amazing is this picture is incredible. There's so much going on in the video clip you sent is incredible, but that's the thing that we both were like, holy shit, this guy's balls are huge, and you don't even notice the guy, the people to the left and right that look just as ridiculous. You barely notice his hat,
which was a silk Kango hat. That I think is the biggest crime, that the man is wearing a silk Kango hat, but you're too busy staring at his Mangala to even get a chance to notice that. So for more about the Mangala, well, I mean, that's really just it. For more about the Mangala, become a Species supporter at patreon.com/Species. So everyone, thank you very much for your support this year in 2021. We look forward to an even better year next year, and spending time with you through our podcast. New episodes begin on January 4th, and we really appreciate your patronage, your support, your listening. We can't say enough how much we appreciate it.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Like Steve said, have a wonderful 2022. And as always, remember, Bob is your uncle.
Kale is from the devil, and watch out for bears.
Species.